Hello, everybody. It's definitely been a year. It's definitely been more than a year. It's been fixed for a little while. I've been mustering up the courage to dust off this internet machine so we could start streaming again. Um, and I guess the 11-year anniversary was enough of a reason for me to finally try and get it working. Yeah. Wait, is this real? Was this the real conversation that happened? Because I wasn't involved with this. There's a lot of fucking Gundam, bro. We I am on the case. Oh, you tricky stream. I I I I yeah, I laughed a few times. So it just sounds like I'm a crazy person all on my own. All right. So slight technical difficulty. I will fix the audio in a moment. Uh,
you want to financially support Manga Machinations, you can head over to our coffee, ko-fi.com/mangamac. And when you buy a coffee, we will use that money to fund our manga reading projects. You can be a supporter like Philip, Manga Machu, Vicky Dalton, Lulu, A Liz 88, Chris from Canada, Deluid, Mia, Wyatt, Dr. Meltface, Poor Mexican 72, Liquidus 002, Extine, Jen, Neptic, Shirley Bossy Cat, and Tama Gamer. Thank you all for supporting Manga Machinations. Oh, according to the chat, we have someone new, Cian, and also Aztec confirmed that they can hear me.
Yeah,
They can hear my voice.
It was right in time for the coffee plug. So,
Excellent.
Yeah,
Perfect
so
timing.
the very important stuff got out there.
Don't worry, you didn't miss much, and you can hear the beginning
Me pasa un
on the
vaso
official podcast
y
when I will post it sometime
cuchara.
tomorrow.
Sí,
Oh yeah,
cuchara.
now that we have our technical difficulties out of the way, I want to start our 11-year journey episode with a little bit of a somber note. Perhaps many of you have already heard, but Matt Hosh, the owner and runner of Starfruit Books, passed away. The news was announced this past Monday. Earlier, he had mentioned and made a post about how he is diagnosed with lymphoma, and he was he put up a GoFundMe just to help with some of like the rent costs and other things while he was going to go start chemotherapy. But yeah, apparently on Facebook, his mother announced that he passed away. Everyone's shocked.
Yeah.
And this sucks. This sucks. Matt was only 34.
Jesus. Yeah, I knew he was around my age. That's so sad. I never ever go on social media anymore, and I happened to go on Blue Sky that morning, and that was like the first thing I saw. I was like, Jesus, this is why I don't go on social media. No, it's terrible. It's really shocking. And it seemed to happen really fast.
Yeah. We don't know a lot of details, but we can only assume there were complications with possible surgery. From what I can tell, lymphoma isn't super serious form of cancer. It's actually very curable, but yeah, fuck cancer. Cancer sucks. Thanks, Cliff. Cliff says R.I.P. I didn't know him, but sending prayers to his family.
Yeah, very sad and very shocking. He was very like we were fortunate to have him in our like manga scene, and obviously he was a super kind person.
Yeah, he had reached out to Morgana after Morgana. It was when you were doing freelance reviews. You did a review of Pop Life.
Yeah, that's right.
And he offered to come on the podcast. We were his first podcast. I forgot about that fact. I went back and listened to those episodes that he was on. And yeah, it's he was always generous whenever I asked him for like a review copy, or if I needed a cover art or something, he would always comply.
And he was just bringing great stuff over in English, stuff that I don't think we would have had otherwise. We definitely would have had otherwise. We got more Hideshi Hino through Starfruit.
Oh yeah, that's
lots
amazing.
Lots of really good stuff. He had a good eye, and the industry is definitely poor without him.
Yeah, I was incredibly saddened to hear that he passed, and very upset. It's been a kind of a tough week. I implore people, if they are willing, to please go donate to his GoFundMe. I just posted it in our YouTube chat. I don't know if like links work. They probably don't, but you could copy that URL. Many people have already spoken on social media about how kind and charitable Matt was, and how he will be very, very, very missed. Yeah, and sorry for starting the podcast out on a little bit of a somber note, but I really wanted to speak about Matt and how important he was for the English manga publishing community. Rest in peace, Matt. Okay, I want to move along because I know Darfox has a lot to talk about in what you've been reading. Darfox, I assume you want to discuss what you watched last night.
Yes, I have a surprise though. There's two movies I want to discuss. Give me 1 second.
What? I know Darfox went and saw the Demon Slayer movie that premiered this week, so
I definitely want to talk about that. But honestly, there's not that much to talk about because I don't really want to spoil anything about it because it's like fresh. It's just out there. And there's a lot of people who are just anime only. They don't read manga and they don't want to hear any spoilers. But I also watched another movie, and I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast before. But have you heard of The Glass Worker?
No, what's this?
no.
The Glass Worker is a Pakistani animated movie, the very first ever Pakistani animated movie. Apparently, Pakistan has never had an infrastructure for like animation. There's no animation schools. There's no like, so these really like talented and smart people in Pakistan basically watched a bunch of Studio Ghibli. They grew up with it, I guess, and then they reverse engineered the look. Yeah, cierra por favor. Cierra fuerte. Cierra fuerte. They reverse engineered the look and they made what honestly looks like a Studio Ghibli ripoff. And it kind of is. And I say that like not trying to belittle it. That's just kind of what it is. Um, it's a really impressive effort. It is kind of amateurish in a lot of ways, but I think inherently, I mean, I think it's just factually amateurish. There's who a lot of people who worked in the movie just learned how to animate while they were making this movie. So on the one hand, it kind of shows, but on the other hand, it's actually very impressive. Um, like the unfortunate thing. Well, first of all, let me say the movie's pretty good. I give it like a solid like 6, 7. Like it's not a bad movie. It's pretty good, and it's worth watching if you're interested in like the backstory of this movie. Like this is one of those movies where like the backstory of it getting created is more interesting than the actual movie. I'm sorry to say. But it's just the whole concept of like all of these like young artists and creators being like, fuck it, we're gonna make our own like anime movie. And they succeeded. They made a feature length anime movie that's like really competent and well put together. But almost every single aspect of the movie has something lacking in it. It's something like kind of amateurish or something that's like, damn, like that, like it just doesn't really hit. You know what I'm saying? So like, really, it's a movie I really enjoyed, but I really want to see their like second effort or their third effort and see like what whatever seeds this plants in like the Pakistani film industry. Because it's just like very unique. It kind of came out of nowhere as far as like I had heard about it a long time ago, and I don't even remember if I spoke to any of you about it, but I guess I didn't. And then like when it turns out it was like showing up in theaters, so I said, okay, let me go watch this shit because this would be good like podcast like talk. But like the story is basically like it's about this young kid who his father was a glass worker, and he starts to learn how to make how to like uh, do glass things as well, but he's more like an artist. He makes like artistic glass pieces. But then the war comes, and then like there's like this MacGuffin aspect where like the government needs the glass worker to make this glass engine, because they have this new kind of engine that for some reason needs this like glass valve, right? So like this is the only guy that can make it. And the only reason the dad agrees to do it is because he's a pacifist, right? And because he's a pacifist, they get ostracized in the community because the community is like rah, let's go to war, we're gonna win. But like the father he's a lot more level headed and he kind of knows what war brings. But he has to do it because he doesn't want his son to get basically like taken to war. That's like they threaten him like, oh, we will take your son to the front lines and shit like that, basically. And so like he's coerced to do it. and then but like the father is like very strict. It's like, okay, I'm gonna work on these war machines, but you're gonna keep working on your art. You cannot touch the war machine stuff. Um, but eventually, like the son kind of falls in love with the daughter of the general, and then like I
Of
won't.
course.
Yeah, I won't expect the general was the same guy who like threatened like the father, right? So like there's a lot of like romantic tension and social pressures and familial uh piety stuff going on. It has like it's one of those movies that has like all the right ingredients, but at the end of it, it just doesn't really pull it off. I feel there's also like a slight supernatural aspect of it because there's like a spirit that lives underneath the workshop, but that's left very vague. There's parts in the story where the spirit intervenes, but it's left very vague as to whether it either intervened or if the character just thinks the spirit intervened and the character did it themselves. Um, so there's a lot of aspects like that. Um, there's a couple of scenes of the movie where like they just like um kind of act kind of strange, right? I only describe one, but basically there's a scene where they're like at a train station or something, and these planes above, or they're like balloons, like kind of like zeppelins, and they drop bombs and they blow everybody up. The only people who survive is like the main character and the girl he's crushing on, right? And at this point, they're kind of like, will they, won't they, good friends? Maybe they're kind of dating. And they survive. Literally, like the moment they survive, and they're like, "What's going on? Oh my god, everybody's dead." They start bickering and fighting about really petty stuff. And I think the idea is that like their nerves are fried, so like they're just like they don't really mean to argue about this stuff, but it just comes off as so wrong because there's literally dead bodies surrounding them, and he's like she's a soloist, by the way. She plays the violin, and he like for some reason he starts criticizing her as like, oh well, you're not a real artist because you just play other people's pieces. A real artist has to make their own piece. A real artist has to compose their own song.
Bruh.
like literally out of nowhere, and they just survived the bombing, and then they start bickering back and forth like like a fight like the kids might have, but about the pettiest shit. And I was sitting there in the theater. I was like, bro, everybody's fucking dead. Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, get to safety. Check for survivors. There's some stuff like that in the movie that's just like really odd.
Hold on, Dar. You got so excited your mic is starting to mute yourself.
Okay. I'll take it down. There's stuff in the movie like that that's just like really odd. That just like doesn't like make sense. So like I wonder if that's just the part of that they're like inexperienced and this is the first time making like an animated movie in this form. The animation is pretty good. Sometimes it's like it seems like low frame rate. But overall, ironically it's a movie that looks better in screenshots than it does in animation, which sounds like a really terrible thing to say about an animated movie. But like a lot of times, like when people are walking from like stage left to stage right, it's like very choppy and stuff like that. It almost like it looks like a Polygon Pictures kind of thing. But it's not 3D animated. It's drawings. And yeah, like I don't know what else to say of the movie besides the fact that it's really fascinating. Um, it's really interesting. It has kind of like like an anti-war message, but that's another aspect of the movie that I feel like it doesn't really go that far enough because at the end of the day, it's still like really honored the general character and it's still really honored like the soldiers that went to go fight and stuff. Um, so like I don't know what else to say about it besides it was really interesting. Um, and I enjoyed it. I kind of hope that in the future they make movies that don't look just like Studio Ghibli, Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Jesus.
hey, I don't know. I don't think I'm being cruel by saying that.
No, I saw the trailer while you were talking, and yeah, it's Morgana, remember we watched that anime movie about the witch girl, Mary and the Witch's
Mary and the
Flower?
Witch's Flower, yeah.
Yeah, like that also looks like super Ghibli, but you could tell like in that movie they had like a good budget. and they were able to like put in a lot of work on the animations. Like I don't know any of the situation behind. Oh my god! Sorry. Holy shit!
Jump scare.
I literally got. I was watching our YouTube feed and I got Darfox jump scared.
Yeah, sorry. I meant to put the camera on a lot sooner, but I wasn't ready. I had to do my face, you know.
Darfox too handsome. You gotta
Um,
become less handsome for the camera.
oh my god, Pochita, don't show your booty. No, push. I'll put him down here.
Cute
Okay.
T-shirt.
Oh yeah, it was a gift, a very nice gift. The cat eating ramen. How do I? Hey, ramen, kitty.
Back to live recording shenanigans. I forgot what the fuck I was saying.
You're the witch and the something, the witch and the wardrobe. You were compared it to a movie.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not fair to compare, like, obviously something that probably had, like, a much bigger budget and probably more experienced animators.
And
Like,
an infrastructure. I mean, it seems like the studio really built everything from the ground up, which honestly, even if the movie sucks, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and the movie doesn't suck. The movie's pretty good. It's just more interesting as a story of the movie getting made.
as opposed to the actual movie itself. Gotcha.
Yeah, when I watched the film in theaters, there was like a brief like 5-minute thing where the director introduced themselves and kind of talked about the studio, and they built that studio like he laid it out. It was like they had to reverse engineer animation techniques by watching animation, set up a pipeline to like produce it, teach any new employees what they're doing. It's like it was a job and a half. So you know, I hope it's successful for them. I hope that like they make money. I kind of wish they made like a simple kids movie as opposed to like kind of like a serious dramatic movie. You know, very Studio Ghibli-esque where there's like very human drama and it's being intersected with like real world darkness, like a war coming in, and then like a slight spiritual aspect. I mean, it's very Studio Ghibli. It's super on the nose. Um, yeah, I kind of wish that they had done like maybe Bonio instead of like Howl's Moving Castle. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe that could have even guaranteed them more money because guaranteed them as like kids. But I don't actually know what makes money, so I should stop talking. Yeah, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I could get to talk about it because I do want awareness on it, and I hope this evolves to something, you know, for that whole scene, and you know, hopefully like a more distinct identity. It is like it's not like it takes place in Japan or anything. Like it kind of takes place in like Pakistan, kind of. It's like a sort of fantasy version, like off Pakistan. They talk about like chai tea and stuff like that, and there's like a bunch of stuff that like isn't like super like American or Japanese. So like there is an aspect of culture that comes through. Their own culture does come through a lot in the names and stuff like that. So I should be clear that it isn't fully just like a Studio Ghibli movie with the serial number filed off. There is some uniqueness in it as you watch it. You get a lot of that, but the broad strokes of it is very boilerplate.
It sounds like it too.
Yeah. The Glass Worker, very interesting.
Is this the one that you saw in theaters and you were like filming yourself? You're like, I'm empty. Nobody's here.
yeah. I felt I was like nobody cares about Pakistani animation. What's going on? Actually, a couple people showed up. There was like there was well, my party was a party of 3, and then maybe like 4 other people showed up. Maybe I don't remember.
Okay. I'm sure that was not the case for the Demon Slayer movie you saw last night.
No, the Demon Slayer movie was pretty popular. It wasn't a full theater, but there was a lot of. I mean, Demon Slayer is gonna make so much money. It's gonna do really really well. It's really good. Big surprise. They animated the fuck out of that. It's you know, like it's all the same stuff. It's you know, a UFO table. It feels a lot like you know, their efforts with Mugen Train. it's very, you know, it's just Demon Slayer in a movie format. So you're gonna have, you know, the unfortunate aspect of that is that you're gonna have a lot of starts and stops where you're gonna have these fights and then they get stopped by flashbacks where you start explaining not just the main characters deal, but also like the villains deals, and then all
Very
that's
shonen anime.
yes, yes, it's very like on one hand you know exactly what you're getting, but on the other hand, like Demon Slayer is like the Mike Tyson of like anime, where like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Like Mike Tyson, like you know Mike Tyson's just gonna get in on you and punch you, but when he punches you, you fucking die. And that like Demon Slayer is like is so well done, and is so like well animated that I feel like if you've ever watched anime, um, and you've just been super excited about like a fight and been super excited about like this set piece, um, I feel like you owe it to yourself to watch Demon Slayer. Just so you could get to like the fights and the set pieces, and I mean like the emotional aspect of Demon Slayer is really really potent and really well done, but like just some of the set pieces in this movie are just like so crazy. Um, it the anime does this too, but like the movie does it extra, where like a, a large portion of the movie is all CG, except for the characters are still like mostly like hand drawn. I think they also insert like CG characters here and there, but they're really hard to spot. It blends really well, and the whole gimmick with the Infinity Castle, which is the premise of this whole movie, is that it's the villain's lair is like this non-Euclidean infinity space where like gravity and architecture is all topsy turvy. Um, and that's and the all the main characters are kind of dispersed about this huge map of infinity castles, Japanese style castles, like spreading out, and it's just covered in demons. There's demons everywhere, super hostile environments, and then there's like the six or so really powerful demons, and of course they're trying to get to the main villain, which is called Muzan.
Yep.
um and he's hurt. The whole premise of like at the very end of the last um season, they basically set a trap for him and he kind of fell for the trap and he's hurt. Um and they could have finished him off, but he sucked them all into the Infinity Castle, and it's dispersed him, and it really fucked up their plan. So now they're trying to rush to get to him. Basically, that's the whole thing. Like he's hurt, they want to get to him, but they got to get to like literally an infinite amount of like space and monsters. So it's very exciting, very mad. The whole thing is like this movie does not breathe. It's just a mad dash of people running from A to B, getting intercepted by monsters, then finding the monsters, and then boom. The only time you rest is when you get these crazy flashbacks about people having terrible, terrible childhoods and really gruesome origins. But yeah, I won't say how much of the story it covers, but Dagazu, do you, Cliff says you mean Michael Jackson? Yes, Muzan famously looks a lot like Michael Jackson for some reason. Um, very popular meme in the audience. But I won't name which characters, but just to give Dagazu an idea where it ends, there is a fight that deals with like a flow state where you have to attack without exhibiting hostility, and
Okay, yeah,
yes,
I know.
that fight is like the climax of the film, and after that fight's over, and that's done very very well. um there's a scene when I'll just say Tanjiro was involved with the fight. It's a big spoiler. When Tanjiro finds that flow state, that shit was animated fucking crazy. They did that shit so well. Like it just like I can't express like how cool this stuff looks. Um and you know, they wrap up that fight scene and they have all like the flashbacks associated and other really emotional catharsis involved with it, and then they do a brief check-in on all the characters and see where they're at. um and then it just ends. You know, it's like see you next time for the next episode, because there's a
Oh
lot.
yeah, there's no way they're covering.
Yeah, there's a
the final
lot of
arc.
stuff. There's a lot of stuff left to do. So I don't know, maybe there's like 3 or 4 fights in it, but like it, you know, basically 2 very major fights. So yeah, I really liked it. I'm not the biggest Demon Slayer stan, but like maybe I sound like it when I'm talking about it, just because like I just think like objectively, it's so well done. Um, and I'm somebody who, I like when the action scenes be actiony and being doing a lot of cool stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know what else I could say about it besides I really really liked it, and I recommend you go watch it. I've already talked to a couple people who are like, should I go watch it? I haven't watched the anime. It's like, bro, it's like you could, because it's just, I mean, it's not complicated. It's just bad guys versus good guys, but there's like a lot of lore with like like a lot of characters. Demon Slayer is a story that has a lot of characters like feeling very deep feelings and feeling very like strong attachment to other characters, and all of that stuff wouldn't hit well if you don't like watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah. It's been building up to this point.
Um, yeah, I don't actually know the setup, but just I mean I know how shonen manga ends. I have to imagine the third movie is just gonna be the fight with Muzan, like the whole third movie. It's just gonna be the whole long fight with Muzan. Um, but we'll see when we get there.
I suppose we shall. I don't know if I'm gonna see this movie in theaters. I might just wait for it to become an anime season, like how they cut up the train movie into like a season.
I will say my one criticism of the Infinity Castle is that it does kind of just feel like a bunch of anime episodes appended to each other. Not because there's obvious fade ins and fade outs. But I think it's more just because the fights are almost inherently set up with a pacing of action, action, flashback, and then the climax. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah, and that's the manga.
it,
Yeah.
it creates that rhythm that just kind of feels like anime episodes. And it's kind of a long way. It's 2.5 hours of nonstop Demon Slayer screaming and cutting. So like it's maybe better experience in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, Raising Aztec says, I think one of the biggest pulls for Demon is the animation, and people will go just for the hype.
There's a sequence early on in the film when they're falling through like the infinity space. That looks fucking amazing, by the way. It's all CG, so like they CG'd the hell out of it. They ran those server farms and they really made some really cool looking castles, right? But two of the characters are falling, and then like basically there's a gigantic castle structure that's swinging towards them, and the way it comes in from the background to the foreground, you feel like this really great sense of scale. So maybe that's the one thing I'd say, like maybe you should watch in the movie theater, just if you want the big screen experience and the booming audio, because this sense of scale of this huge structure swinging towards them, and like it kind of gets created out of nowhere, so you see the lights and the candles start turning onto it, and it just feels like this, yeah, like it's just really well done. And then of course they do cool guy shit where like one of them takes out their mace and then they break through the wall and then they land cool and immediately start fighting demons. um yeah, it's just it's the kind of movie you feel like a kid where you're like, you start swinging your arms, and like we didn't do that in the theater though. The theater was chill.
Gotcha. Did you I posted you a message about like I heard the subtitles were bad. You probably didn't notice.
No, yeah, I think they're mostly bad if you knew Japanese. There were a couple of awkward sentences here and there, like the kind of sentences where there's like too many double negatives or whatever. Is like, okay, you could have said that in a way simpler way, and maybe you're translating too literally from Japanese. Um, but not a lot. Like just maybe a handful throughout the whole film.
Yeah, I have a Japanese friend, and she is a huge Demon Slayer stan. She loves Kyojuro Rengoku, the Fire Pillar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, she won't shut up about it. But she was in Japan when this movie came out, and she saw it like 4 times. She's like a mega fan. And then so
It's
she
hype.
saw this, yeah, she saw the English version like this past week, and she could not stop complaining to me about the subtitles being trash.
That's sad.
Well, she's Japanese, so she's like me. She gets how they're they're both different. You know, there's a different context, and like you lose the nuance when you have to do subtitles. And I told her, listen, it's a movie. There's so much happening on screen. You got like 2 seconds to write that sentence for people to read it. You have to go with like something that maybe isn't nuanced, that just gets the intent across. So, but yeah, she was grumbling.
Oh, you reminded me. Could we talk about subtitles? That might be a reason to watch the dub. And another reason to watch the dub is apparently Channing Tatum voices somebody in the dub because their daughter is a huge fan. So like I'm not sure how he got in the movie, if he asked to be in the movie or if the studio was like, oh, this is a big opportunity, we should try to get Channing Tatum. But he voices a character in Flashback, a character like a martial artist. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. Which is,
it's not the most important character, so it's fine.
But it's a character that leaves a big impact, so I think that's a good role for him.
Yeah.
So, anime is mainstream. It's gonna get more and more mainstream, for better for worse. Sony owns all of anime now, for better for worse. It's it's gonna, you're gonna see more weird shit like that. It's gonna, random celebrity stuff in anime.
Are you done talking about Infinity Castle?
I'll never be done. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I want to transition right off of you, and this is just something really quickly I want to talk about. Is that I think a couple weeks back they announced that they're going to animate Tatsuki Fujimoto's 17 through 26. Seamus, if you recall, we covered this manga release, it was just a release of Tatsuki Fujimoto, creator of Chainsaw Man's before Chainsaw Man, like one shots that he did. And I believe they're going to be put out on Netflix. Different studios are covering like the different stories. And I think it's an interesting choice because I don't know if Darfox also remembers, but a lot of those stories were like, they were okay, but they were never like that interesting, because obviously this is before Chainsaw Man. And Tatsuki Fujimoto was still trying to flex his creative muscles and think of like his good ideas, right? Some of them were like, it's kind of interesting to look at now that you've seen like Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man.
See, I'd be interested in Fire Punch anime.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, I think it might have been Mappa who made like the promise. It's like, we're gonna animate everything Tatsuki Fujimoto's ever done. After they did Look Back 2, but I think this means we are one step closer to a Fire Punch anime. And I just wanted to ask Dar and Seamus how they felt about the idea of a fucking Fire Punch anime.
It's gonna be weird.
I don't really care one way or the other.
Okay. That's fair too. I just think like based on the actual material of Fire Punch, that would be insane.
It will definitely be weird. I also agree that like it's weird that they're animating this. It's almost like they're just being completionists because it's cool, it's okay, but I don't know if it's worth animating.
Yeah, that's my thought on his previous 17 to 26 works, right? Before Chainsaw Man. Just want to bring that up real quick. Cliff is saying that the Demon Slayer movie went off in Japan, and he's heavily invested in Sony to keep dropping that money. I just remembered that Cliff had a question for us in Discord, and I did have a manga to talk about, but I'm gonna like abide my time later. Wait, is that the term? Abide your time? Rescind your time?
Bide your time.
Bide my time. Thank you, Morgana. But yeah, I will not talk about what I've been reading, and instead I will use my time to answer Cliff's question later. But before that, Morgana, did you have anything this week?
Nothing too crazy. I watched a grown-up movie this week.
What?
Which is
not a
crazy.
kids movie?
I also we watched the Box Trolls last night, which we've seen before. But I watched the Thursday Murder Club It's on Netflix. This is an adaptation of a book, part of a series that I really, really love, these murder mysteries. And it has, like, everyone who's anyone in it. It's, Helen Mirren, Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, and then Celia Imrie, who I don't know if I've seen her in anything, but she was delightful. They play a group of people living in a retirement community who, solve cold cases, and then, like, real murder happens and they have to solve it, basically.
That's so fun.
It's so fun. The books are out of this world excellent. They're, like, one of my favorite newer series of novels in a long time. The movie was very good. I will say I have problems with the way they changed certain things, but it is very worth watching. So if you like murder mysteries, and you like old people being naughty and getting up to shenanigans, I definitely, definitely recommend. David Tennant's also in it. He plays an asshole. He's
Nice.
it's always fun when he plays an asshole because you know he's not really one in real life, and he's just like he's just a really good actor. But yeah, that was the thing that I was excited about watching, and then yeah, we watched the Box Trolls last night, Studio Leica, and it was great because of course it is, because stop motion animation is super cool, and I mean it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of trendy in some ways. I think I mentioned before that there are a lot of kids cartoons that are definitely computer animated but are made to look like stop motion. Um, so the look of it is still very popular, I suppose. But yeah, nothing else. I did borrow from the library something. I didn't get a chance to read much of it, but it's called Melvin Monster, and it's comics from, I want to say, the 60s and 70s about a little monster boy named Melvin Monster, and it's published by Drawn and Quarterly, and it reminds me very much of Kitaro in a lot of ways, and I'm really fascinated by the kind of like cultural this kind of like spooky little boy character like crosses cultural boundaries. It's very different from Kitaro in a lot of ways, and certainly not as popular as Kitaro is in Japan, but that's something I've only had a chance to read a little bit of it, but it's very fun. John
Nice.
Stanley, I believe, is the creator's name.
Sorry, I'm also distracted because Darfox on camera is eating something.
Snacking.
What is that?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you asked. Some butter chicken.
Oh, very nice.
Mm.
I forgot that during live recordings, this is what we were like. We always had to deal with.
Well, some days we record the day at work, so I don't really have time to eat anything beforehand. And since the 11-year anniversary, I decided to treat myself and just order butter chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Spend too much money.
Shamelessly eat on camera while the rest of us hosts starve and talk.
It's half a mukbang.
Hey, yeah, I don't know about y'all. I had some pizza already. I'm good.
I'm gonna have to grab a snack during our break. Jesus. Okay, Seamus, do you have anything?
None for me.
Okay. Yeah, I got to mention the Tatsuki Fujimoto anime stuff, so like I said, I'm going to bide my time. And yeah, we should have done this earlier, but let's do a listener question from Cliff. So this week, Cliff wanted to ask a question in our Discord. If you're not a member of our Discord, I highly suggest you join us. Come talk to us. Discord.me/MangaMac. But he asked, would love to know on the next pod what each of your top 3 anime episodes ever are. I'd ask top 5, but I assume that would take too long. Also, can be a top 3 manga chapters if people prefer that. So, Seamus, you had an answer for this.
Just the last 2 episodes of Summer Shampoo, because that's all I could think of. Maybe the first episode and the 5th episode of Cowboy Bebop. To be honest, I couldn't tell you like manga chapters or anime episodes for anything.
I'm still impressed that you came up with something. So yeah, that's
Well, I just watched them for the last 3 weeks, so I was actually like in my head.
Yeah, it's a little tough, but I don't know if I could do like top, but some ones that are really important to me, I guess, or really special. Toys in the Attic episode of Cowboy Bebop, which I've mentioned vaguely before. We haven't watched it yet in our episodes, our Janku Journeys, but we'll get there. I've watched that episode. I taped it off Adult Swim when I was a tween and watched it over and over and over again. I just love it so much. It's just so funny. It's such good comedic timing and parody, and I hadn't even seen Alien at all when I first watched the episode, but it just I don't know, it struck something with me. Um for manga chapters, there's the Two Shots chapter of Yu Yu Hakusho where Kurama and Hiei meet for the first time. That one I really like. I still haven't watched the episode, the anime, the like OVA that they did of that. I have the Blu-ray now. I just still haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it either. Now that we think about it, or I think about it.
Yeah, I should do that. But I love the chapter. I guess it's not a chapter. I think it's a few chapters of Yu-Gi-Oh where Bakura invites the group to play Monster World and is possessed by the spirit of the Millennium Ring and impales his hand on the tower and gets his and the tines of the Millennium Ring like sink into his skin. That's like a big I don't know, just like I think that's the I think that's the like story arc or that like bit where the spirit of the ring says to Bakura like it feels good in you to be in you or whatever. It's like really really ridiculous. Yeah.
Fucking love it.
Um those are like the big ones. I mean I'm sure there's more like I need to think a little bit more, but those are the 3 that come to my mind like immediately.
Good, good.
Because I'm like millennial trash, and that's what I was consuming at a young age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Cliff says he is honored that you answered his question, Seamus. Let's see, while Darfox thinks, yeah, I'm with Morgana, you know, it's stuff from my childhood. And I guess it would be things from Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai, because that's still one of my favorite shonen manga series that I read while I was growing up. Luckily, there's an anime, and I can check, but 2 episodes of the anime, episode 30, Pop's Resolve, is really fucking good. I won't give, like, if I mention anything about, like, that episode, it is full spoilers, so I will not. But, yeah, both my anime episodes that really resonate is with Pop, which I still think is the best character ever written for a fucking shonen manga series. And they're both like things where he needs to actually buckle the fuck up and do something. And so one is like the first major one that he does when like it's a crisis and like everyone's in danger. So episode 30, Pop's Resolve, and then at the end of the series, there's an episode called Like a Bright Flash, episode 96, where basically Pop cements himself as like the best fucking character ever at the very end of like the final battle. It is so fucking good, and I cry every time I read the manga chapter or I also watch the anime episode. So those 2 from Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai for sure. As far as manga goes, I was thinking, and I feel like the one that still stands out to me is like that was a amazing manga chapter. I mean, there's a bunch, right? The one that I always go back to is from Goodnight Poon. Darfox, Seamus, remember the chapter where, you know, it's like Poon Poon wakes up and then like there's no actual spoken dialogue, but it's all narration on like black panels.
It's like a day in the life of Poon Poon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just ends with Poon Poon was doing well today. And it's clearly in a point of the story where No, he is not fine at all. His life is completely a fucking mess. Yet he is convincing himself that he is doing well, and that chapter still really really stands out to me. All right, Dar, you had some time. Did you think of something?
Yeah, I got too much, so I'm gonna call. So like, I could make a whole list out of Trigun episodes. But
Ooh, nice.
episode 5 of Trigun Hard Puncher, when he finally like uses his gun. You know, always a big deal for me. I like episode 3 a lot. Peacekeeper, the one with Frank Marlowe, the gunsmith. I really really like that episode as well. It's one of like the filler episodes, but I really really like it. Episode 1 of Yu Yu Hakusho always hits, always very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I could rewatch the episode a million times. Really like the first 5 episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho, for some reason, like that filler content before like he becomes like a spirit detective and starts fighting demons, like that stuff works so well for me. The Kurobara episode when he can't fight, or else like he gets expelled or whatever, or his schoolmate, his friend, like loses his job. I love that. The
Oh,
Ro-
for Kurobara, I was thinking the Yukina rescue.
yeah, yeah, but I like I said, I really like the very beginning of Yu Yu Hakusho a lot. Before it was like a full on shonen action show.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I guess, more just like a teenage drama with ghosts. um, the Rumble Raw episode of the original Gundam series, um, that hits really good, because when Rumble Raw is cornered, he says, "Look here, this is what war is about," and he jumps out the window and it blows himself up. And they're like, "What? God damn, this guy was hard as hell." He's just like, "All right, I lost. Time to die." Um, yeah. The episode of Naruto, when very early, a hype moment in Naruto, when they do the giant shuriken that was actually like Naruto. They throw it at Sabusa. Sabusa jumps and dodges it, and it's like, you can't hit me with that. But the thing is behind him, and it turns into Naruto, and then Naruto throws the kunai at Sabusa, and he has to get out and release Kakashi.
Mm-hmm.
Like that single handedly won me so much goodwill for Naruto for the next 20 years. Like I will never say anything bad about Naruto because of that one scene. Like, okay, now Naruto is a made man. Like he could do no wrong.
You've trash talked Naruto with me
Never.
on this podcast.
Never. When?
There's
What
a lot
murder?
of evidence
What
of
murder?
us bitching about the end.
I don't know what you talk about.
Yeah, even Cliff says, I feel like the best episodes for me were from OG Naruto, maybe Naruto versus Sasuke, or Fourth Hokage versus Orochimaru. Yeah, Cliff, I assume he's talking about the fight where Sasuke is leaving the village. Because I remember watching that with my wife. And the animation team changed to like a more fluid anime. It was very much who's the guy who always did fluid animation? He did Ping Pong. Masaki Yuasa. Like kind of that type of animation during that battle, and my wife would refer to that as like, "Oh, it's the fight team did this episode." Those are some good episodes. Remember those Black Clover episodes that were like really good, Dar?
Yeah, like
Really fluid. It's kind of like that.
like the 14 episodes out of 300 they made. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes you watch an anime episode and it's just really hype. Either for like the contents, like the story that's really good, or sometimes it's just like badass animation for a fight sequence, and you're like, "Damn, that looks great."
For me, it's usually like the hype, but also just like the emotion, like the emotional beats. I need to feel anything. I don't feel anything in real life, so I gotta watch anime to feel something. So just that's not true. I feel plenty of stuff. But yeah, like reliving those moments, and it's like putting a tape back into my brain. I feel like that same like catharsis that I did when I first watched it. That's why I rewatch it. You know.
Of course. Those are definitely the reason I picked my anime episodes. So, but yeah, I hope we were able to answer Cliff's question. Nice. I'm glad we got to do it. So we'll go ahead and end that. If you want to ask us questions, you can either send them via email on mangamachinations@gmail.com, or yeah, like I said, join our Discord like Cliff did and just ask us questions there. If I remember, like we will answer them. I'm glad I remembered. Yeah, Cliff wants to know how you really feel, Dar. Come on, tell us.
I feel fine.
Like the good night boom boom. Gotcha. Okay, let's end that. We'll also wrap up what you've been reading. Before we get to our main segment, let's talk about next week. Next week is another break. It's time for us to take our one break per month. So next week we'll be off. But when we come back, it's very exciting. We're going to start our Buddha retrospective. The one that was funded last on our coffee. And yeah, it's we're looking at Osamu Tezuka's Buddha. There's 8 volumes. They're all chonkers. They are all huge. They're like average 400 pages, I want to say. So we're going to give ourselves plenty of ample time to read these. Luckily, we're doing Jianghu Journeys right now, so you know, we'll put a Jianghu Journeys in between every retrospective episode. But yeah, in 2 weeks when we come back, we'll be looking at the first collected volume of Osamu Tezuka's Buddha, put out by Kodansha, and kick off our retrospective. And some of you might be like, "Why aren't you doing Land of the Lustrous?" Because didn't you guys fund that first? That is true. However, there's a lot of Buddhism in Land of the Lustrous, so Seamus and I feel that it will actually be very useful to take a look at this manga about Buddha before we dive into Land of the Lustrous. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's been a while since we covered Osamu Tezuka, and I think a lot of people say that Buddha is like really high up there. Everyone always talks about the Phoenix, of course, and his Blackjack, one of his probably maybe his most popular like overall series. But Buddha is very interesting, and I think I'm the only one who's read it here. No one else has looked at Buddha, right?
I think I read like the start of it.
Yeah,
Wait,
right.
did we cover
first
this? I
number
think we
two.
covered this a long time ago.
I think we read the very start of it
Oh, okay. I'm sure that was scans.
because Buddha
we
isn't
have-
even in there.
He is not. He's not in the beginning of the story. Get ready for that, Morgana. Though
Huh.
he might show up because this is like a double volume or whatever. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Buddha in 2 weeks. Look forward to that. Okay, everybody. We're gonna shut down the stream for a bit, or we're gonna mute ourselves. And when we come back, it'll be time for our main segment, a retrospective redux on Girls' Last Tour. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we are back. It's time to celebrate our 11-year anniversary with a retrospective redux on Girls' Last Tour, a manga series by Tsukumizu. It was originally published in Kurage Bunch magazine and started in 2014. It ran for 6 volumes. The English edition is put out by Yen Press. For localization, we have translation by Amanda Haley, and is lettered by Abigail Blackman and Xian Michelle Lee. I believe they swapped off between volumes. I'm going to go ahead and read the copy for Volume 1 on Yam Press's website. Civilization is dead, but not Chito and Yuri. Time to hop aboard their beloved Kettenkrad motorbike and wander what's left of the world. Sharing a can of soup or scouting for spare parts might not be the experience they were hoping for, but all in all, life isn't too bad. And so yeah, we covered this series before. We did a triple dip a long time ago. Then when Morgana, you had Sev, you were on maternity break. We did a retrospective. There's 2 episodes, episode 284, 285. Talked about all 6 volumes. And now, yeah, many years later, we're episode 562. We are back revisiting Girls' Last Tour.
You know, you say it's when I was on maternity leave when I had my daughter, and I was like, surely that wasn't that long ago. But of course, because she's 5.5, which is a crazy thought. Because I've been a permanent member of the podcast for 6 years.
Now, almost going on 7 now, yeah. So 6.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it's 6 years now, because I started in like September, while I was still pregnant. So, as a permanent, I mean, I was on before too, but
right. But yeah, back then, I think you had just started EN. We weren't sure about you talking about Yen books. You know, it's been 6 years. You're fine. You need to give your little, disclaimer.
I wasn't at Yen yet. I wasn't at Yen until October of that year. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I will say now, yes, I currently work as sales specialist at Yen Press. However, all of the opinions I express here are my own and do not reflect my employer in any way. Gotta say it.
Yep. So yeah, Morgana, let's start with you, because this was your first time reading Girls' Last Tour. You've heard us reference it, talk about it. I'm sure you've heard about it before.
Yeah.
The anime that came out. And,
yeah.
When did the anime come out? Hold on.
It's been a few years.
Shit, I should double check this. You go ahead and talk while I look this up.
Yeah, I'm really glad I read it, because it's one of those ones that, like, yeah, I'd heard good things about it, and I was just like, it's one of those series that I don't think I would have, like, picked up on my own just because. It's not the kind of series I gravitate toward naturally, but it is the kind of series I enjoy, so I'm glad that, that's one of the good things about being on this podcast, is every now and then somebody's like, no, really, you should read Blam, like, let's do it. It's like, okay, fine. Or whatever, yes, you should read Parasite.
Morgana, you are being forced to read this because we need to do it for the podcast.
Yes, yeah, but it's good. No, and I enjoyed this. It's kind of what I expected it to be, which is like a really hopeful and hopeless at the same time kind of series. I enjoyed it. I have some questions and some, like, I don't know if concerns is the right word, but like the Kettenkrad that they use is a German army vehicle from World War II, which I feel like is
Mhm.
kind of a weird. I get that like Japan was also Axis powers. It just feels weird, you know what I mean? And it's the whole premise is of course that there have been wars. This is like a war-torn post-apocalypse sort of situation. Um so kind of the military aspect of it, the Kettenkrad, the rifles, the rations, the helmets, the fact that we're calling this a tour like a tour of duty, you know what I mean? Um I I think that's all supposed to be kind of an, you know, criticism of war, but it also like because Chito and Yuri are so oblivious to that, it's also kind of I don't know, because I know that there is a certain kind of affectionate look at the trappings of war too sometimes, or there are people who are like, I mean, and I'm guilty of this. I like military uniforms. I think they look cool. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is it romanticizing it? Is the series romanticizing that, or is it really criticizing that? And I think it's doing both, which is a really interesting thing because the Kettenkrad, frankly, is pretty cool. And I realize theirs is like souped up. It's a little bit different than like the real thing, but um,
I feel
and
like
kind. Go ahead, Dar.
I was just sorry. I was just gonna like to echo what you're saying. I feel like the mangaka has to be just like a war otaku. For them
Yeah,
to include all this stuff, like even if they're not trying to make something that's pro war, it's just one of their interests.
I
you know.
don't I don't think that's the case.
yeah. No, I think it was. I definitely think that this comes across as a war is bad story. You know what I mean? But also a lot of attention and affection are kind of given to like I mean, at the end, Chito is like crying because her Kettenkrad breaks down. And that's totally understandable. But it's also like this is a war machine. You know what I mean? Like this thing was built for war. Um but she doesn't have that context for it necessarily. She has the context of this is what gets us from place to place and keeps us from dying, you know. And also it's something that she's grown affectionate toward because the two girls possess so very little. Um so yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mentioned Blam earlier and that was not a coincidence. This reminded me of Blam in a really weird way.
No, yeah, like Tsukumizu. Sorry, I always want to say Tsukumizu, but Tsukumizu, their design and like kind of the way they draw this city and its structure, it's very close to Blam's megastructure.
Yeah. It was weird. I mean, it's like Blam but Moe.
Yes.
Kind of weird. Fun. Definitely fun and definitely I guess more digestible than Blam. Like obviously I like Blam, but this is a little bit more simple in
Mhm.
terms of like being able to comprehend what's happening. I do have a criticism. I don't know why these girls don't know what music is because people just make music. People just sing. There's like this whole thing like, "Oh, maybe this is music," with like the rain falling on stuff, and I'm like, "My dudes, how old are you? Surely you've hummed a tune." Like I have some I mean, how bad was it at the end there? Like how, that nobody knows what music is. I feel like there are a couple things like that, mostly that one, that stand out where you're kind of like, is that realistic? Is it realistic that they wouldn't know this very basic human function that is making pretty sounds, you know?
Yeah, there's a couple things like that in this series where it's done for the sake of convenience of the story that doesn't like it's hard to really suspend your disbelief
Yeah.
for.
And for the most part it's fine. I could get, that doesn't bother me, but I was just like, I don't know, does that seem realistic? Um I'm also just curious about their relationship to each other. Are they siblings? Are they cousins? They seem to have a grandpa, but is he their biological grandpa or is he just a guy who is taking care of them? How old are they? Like, are they teenagers? I wasn't quite sure. Not that any of it matters, really, but like those questions are never going to be answered. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, it was also this was really quick to read. I left it until this week. Like we've had the books for a couple weeks, but I was like, oh, it'll be fine, and it was fine because they were like, I think I could read it in like 20 minutes, a single volume. They just
Yeah,
go by quick.
I read all 6 volumes last night, and it took me like maybe 2 hours. So
You gotta love a nice, like
breezy
quick,
read.
breezy read. Yeah, well, it's
Mhm.
funny because the subject matter. I mean, I wouldn't call the end of the world breezy, you know what I mean? Or like the end of humanity breezy. Um, but they are kind of like light. It's kind of light reading. Um, it's very like slice of life, like slow life, feel good, Yokohama Kaida Shikiko kind of ass. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, why do I
Mhm.
feel so good about these girls who are dying? Like,
Because that's how it's written, and that's definitely one of the strengths of this series. Real quickly, Morgana, to get back to why you're asking about the military garb and the Kettenkrad, like why is that there? I don't think it's a deep meaning about like war is bad or war is good or glorifying war or anything. This was made in the 2010s. I just checked. The anime came out in 2017. We were at the height of Girls und Panzer,
mm-hmm.
and an editor probably went to Tsukumizu and was like, okay, this story, what if they're like, let's put him in military garb and have like this military vehicle to appeal to fucking military otaku nerds. And I think that's really it.
I'm not sure if I feel better or worse about that.
I mean, like, people like to. You said it yourself. It's a cool vehicle, and like
Yeah.
people like military outfits. They think they're cool and interesting. So aesthetically, if you separate it from like the actual like war and nations they're associated with, because the story really isn't about that.
Well, no,
If you
Dakazu, it's only a cool vehicle because it was the Germans in World War II who used it.
okay,
As far as I'm
maybe
concerned.
maybe I'm wrong. I always felt like that is just like the window dressing for this story about the girls on this journey to meet their end. That was my main like kind of thoughts as I was rereading the series. I think this is my 4th read through of the series. And like Morgana, I thought it was like the tone is just very light, even though like if you think about it, it could be like way more dark and dark, and it isn't. They meet those people, the mapper, the plane maker, like those people after they left, they probably like died in a couple days. Like, so when you think about it, it's very depressing, but
it's so interesting because nothing bad happens on screen. You know what I mean? Or in the context of the story. Like, you don't see anything bad happen.
no, it's not about that. Yeah.
Like, at first, when the woman who made the plane, when her plane fell apart, I was like, oh shit, we're getting dark now. And then it didn't. She, like, had a parachute. And I was like, oh, I guess it's not that kind of series.
It's
Even
not.
though it's also kind of that kind of series.
Yep, it is. I think that is one of the best strengths of Girls Last Tour. I'll talk more deeply about that, but Dar, how was it revisiting Girls Last Tour? What did you think?
There was a lot of stuff I forgot.
Oh, like what?
Like I forgot like those like random mechs in there, and just like a lot of like just the visual like like other little things they put in the background to like spruce things up and make the world seem interesting and like to ruin the world. I mean, I liked it still. It's an interesting book. And it's like easy to read. So I always like that aspect of it. But like, I don't know, for some reason I just kind of like forgot all of these small details. The like I had vague recollections of the statues, but then when the little like worm guy shows up,
Oh, the penis monster.
yeah, that turns out they're like mushrooms. Yeah, and I was like, oh, this stuff was like so weird. And just like everything else in this book, it's kind of just end there. It's not really, they don't really make a big deal about it. It's just another thing in this world that's like dilapidated and, well, I guess the creatures are flourishing. But I don't know. Yeah, that was my main takeaway.
You bring up a good point, though. Like, again, these girls are in World War II uniforms and with a Kettenkred, yet we have, like, futuristic AI, like, autonomous robots that are, like, way in the future, big, giant mech weapons. Why the fuck is there a Kettenkred?
Right?
It's
Why
so
is all
funny.
this old shit there even? Like, did some military otaku make new ones like later? Because I think they mentioned in some of the back matter or something that it was a newer model, that it wasn't
Something like
from
that, yeah.
World War II. But like, I don't know, it's weird.
What if they're just isekai'd into this world?
No, this is when Isekai stuff was just kicking off. Let's not go there. Like I said, this
It still
is
existed.
just like mixing like the aesthetics of World War II, like military stuff in a story. Because
But so divorced from its context, you can feel okay about it.
No, come on.
Like, oh, the kitten card, it's a great little vehicle.
it's just a cute little vehicle. Don't think about like the actual use, like the country that came up with it.
And why?
Mm-hmm.
It's Germany's fine, but Germany in context, okay?
That's one thing with this series. I was thinking about rereading it. It like they worked really, really hard to strip out any kind of context. Like even what you were saying, we're going out there about like how come they don't know what like singing is. Like it's like they kind of have vague memories of like you're saying this older guy who called their grandparent, but like they just go around being like, oh, all this is like weird and what's it mean?
What's a temple? What is God?
Yes, it's very like actually, I think reading the afterwards has made me like this manga less because I'm like, this person has put fuck all thought into what they're doing here. In a way, or I'm just like, maybe this is also because like I got Land Illustrious on the mind, and also reading Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, I'm like, oh god, how much is it just like doing that again? But like, because I think Morgana, you brought up like it had with YKK, it was. She was like an archetype of the 90s kind of scene in manga, and you that like full lesbianism.
Oh, the kissing to exchange data and Yokohama
Yes.
Kaida's Kiko. Yep.
Or even I was thinking of, for some reason I listened to like the episode we did in Other Side Picnic, and I think that
Oh,
was when you
God.
pointed out like the whole like, oh, we got these like cute Yuri girls, and like in this kind of vaguely.
It's all for
possible-
marketing, everybody. They gotta sell this product. So
And
we're gonna
I'm
hook
just-
in
it was-
people.
It was just more that like lack of context. Like Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko had like more context in this. And that, to be honest, didn't really like. It was set in an actual place, and like there was actual stuff you could kind of like think through. Which maybe had me think less of that manga in certain ways in its view on history and like where society was going. And this one was just like, let's just ignore all that. Just like forget about it. Even like Land of the Illustrious, it's like a fictional context, but like there's way more thought put into that and like what is happening to Foss and like the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when
Has me
we
a lot more interested in rereading it. I read this and I was like, this is grand, but Jesus, there's not a whole lot to this.
You remember when we had like that argument about vibes? Like, this is the quintessential vibes book, where it's just like aesthetics and kind of like interesting moods, but then
Yeah.
like nothing really else.
Inside.
Well, maybe
I don't know about empty, but definitely like that's not the point. You don't need to think deeply. You just need to have a feeling.
You kind of are just hanging out in this post-apocalypse, and it doesn't have any of like the typical trappings that like zombie fiction that's really popular in the in America. Well, I guess it's popular worldwide, but like post-apocalypse zombie fiction of like human the real monsters. Oh my god, if you come across humans, especially if you're a woman, something terrible will happen.
Mhm.
It's no, like they met humans. They was like, oh hi, how are you? You're a pilot? You're making maps? What's going on? Okay, bye.
You just actually made me think now of Cormac McCarthy's The Road, which is also a book where he worked very hard to strip context out of the whole thing. In a way, it also makes that not that interesting a novel. That and he's a bit too like Christian for his own good. All I'd say is the end of that novel should have been the kid pulling out the gun and blowing his brains out. Why would you want to keep living there?
My friend literally told me this. I don't know if I should say this, but one of my one of my friends is like, if that ever happens, I'm just killing myself. I'm not going to deal with like the post-apocalypse.
Dar, we're
Oh, yeah, like,
streaming live on YouTube. Come
Like
on.
I was, because I was part of a book club we read there recently, and I was just like, why doesn't the kid after his father dies just pull out the gun and blow his fucking head off? Why the fuck would he want to keep living here? That didn't go down well with the other people who I was talking to, and I was like, mostly because I was like, and McCarthy's not going to do that because he's a Christian, and like McCarthy, he's kind of like, I don't know. By the time he's written The Road, it's like, man, what are you doing? Like, just stop. Like, you're not good anymore.
Listen, I know
Yes. I went off topic there, but also like that's part of the reason why I didn't like that lack of context. Maybe this is, I don't know, maybe it's not even just this book, but like partly maybe just because I'm just like watching stuff and reading stuff more recently that I think does benefit a lot from people who made it, putting a lot of thought into the context of what they're doing. Particularly if you're trying to like deal with like, oh, it's like the end of society, the end of the world, like approaching death.
I mean, I think that's totally fair to like lay that criticism on Girls Last Tour. But I will say, like, rereading this, I was so impressed with this manga, just like the lead up to the final volume. I think the final volume, like, there's some awkwardness in the pacing in, volume 4 and 5, and I feel like that's just because this is a serialized series and we need to keep going, so we need to keep writing a story, right? But the ultimate endpoint of this series in volume 6 and where it ends, I think is masterful. This is like one of those good endings in a manga. Usually we complain about how the ending to the manga isn't like the best part of the manga on this podcast. And I would argue that the end of Girls Last Tour is actually the best part of this manga.
You know what was interesting about the ending to me is that I was expecting it. Even though like it's an upbeat story in a lot of ways, I was like, well, it's not like they're gonna find anything at the end. Like
It's in the
like I
title.
could tell. Yeah, like I could tell that it was just gonna end. Like, and they're gonna die. And you're not gonna see them die, but like that's gonna happen. And I'm kind of impressed that like that's not a happy ending. But also it didn't feel like a really sad ending. Like I was like, it was inevitable. It felt inevitable, but not necessarily sad. If that makes, I mean, obviously it's sad,
No,
but like,
that totally makes sense, Morgana. Like, and it's set up that way too, because at the end of volume 4, they run into the penis monsters that tell them, "Oh, we haven't seen any other living human besides you two." And it's kind of like it's set up at that point. It's like this really isn't going to end well. It's as the title suggests. This is their last tour, and that's why I think the end of volume 6 is so well done. Like when the Kenton Crad breaks down, and Cheeto cries, and like that's the sad part. Like that's the the loss of their vehicle, the loss of their transportation, the acceptance and sadness of like this is the end.
Yeah, because that kind of cues the end, because it becomes a lot harder to survive after that. Like they start running out of food, and it's like, I mean, what are you gonna do?
They're traveling up like that spiral staircase at the end to get to the top, and there's a 2-page spread where it's just them walking in darkness, but it's just everything else in the page is darkness. And Cheeto is like, it's like the whole world is us. Like, this is it. And I thought that was like such a good way of like representing like the finality and end. And just like ending on like them, you know, Cheeto's like, oh, should we have done something back? Should we have turned around? And Yuri's just like, we don't know, you know, we just tried and we really enjoyed ourselves. That's the best that we can do. And I love that it doesn't end with them, you know, possibly shooting well, I guess they don't, you know, blowing themselves up. They still have explosives, or maybe jumping off the top and dying. But it just ends with them, hey, we still had some food left, so let's eat this and take a nap, and then think about whatever. And the way it just zooms out from like that point, and then it goes back to all the different places in the city that they've been to, and it's just no one's there, just completely empty, completely gone. And the final shot of just like where they're resting, and they drew something on like the little mosaic or whatever.
I think the thing that made me the most sad in that last segment was burning the pages of the journal.
Yeah.
Because not only are they dying, but all trace of them is also being erased. And that is like, to me, I think to a lot of people, like the hardest part about dying is being gone. Like being just like no evidence that you ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
We're, as humans, we're very attached to stuff and our stuff and passing down our stuff. That was the point where I was like, oh no, this is rough, because it's not like they're gonna find more writing materials and write it all over again. This is it.
But somehow that, you know, it's not just that mood at the end. And I think that's like you can say whatever about Scooby Zoo and not putting a lot of thought into the context of like why they have a crad, why the military uniforms, you know, why Cheeto and Yuri don't understand music. But at least like the way that the ending is executed, I think that's very masterful. That was really good. I don't know if you disagree with that, Seamus.
I'm not sure. I was trying to think about like when I finished reading this, I was like, there's something about this I just don't really like. Overall, I still like it. I think, like you're saying, I actually think the structure and like kind of where it ends. I think some of the individual little stories along the way I like. I think like the art and kind of the drawing of the city and like the different looks at the different places. But I think it's just more it ending without seeing them dying to me feels like. It was only when you're talking about it here. It's like cheating. I don't know. It's like I think I mentioned actually went back and listened to the podcast we did before, and I think I mentioned this book, but it's like We Are About to by Joanna Russ. Where like
Yep,
it's not a
you
long
did bring that
novel,
up. Mm-hmm.
but like the last however many pages are just this person as she's like you're literally like she's literally dying. Like you're reading pages of her slowly dying, no food, she's running out of water. They're on a planet where like she's probably maybe picked up some infection. She's kind of like thinking back through her life and what she did and didn't do and how it all went. And like this just does none of that because that is not an easy thing to read. I guess in a way, like Yokohama Kaide Shikiko just totally sidestepped it by just having it like an immortal robot, so you don't even have to think about it in the first place.
Yeah, they do that too. They're very much like, we're not going to talk about like the human characters anymore because they are clearly gone. In that aspect, it's interesting where Chito and Yuri run into like a lot of those like similar, you know, not creatures, but mechanical beings that like can live forever. But like the AI they run into that.
Actually, yeah, you mentioned like that bit was like that bit where that AI whatever manager person thingamabob is just like, I don't want to live forever. Like I've been alive long enough. Like it's just this is a horrible existence. Just kill me. Or like, he didn't even say just kill me. He's just like, hey, do this thing, and then it's like, hey, you just kill me. Thanks for that.
Yeah. So it's not like they don't explore some of those ideas. Like I feel like that's all set up. Same thing with like the aviator when you're playing crashes, and she's like, "Oh, I did all that work for nothing," but oh well. At least it's over.
Yeah, but it's like she doesn't die. Like,
But I mean, like, okay. So you're saying that because we don't see her die?
I don't know. I don't even have like a coherent point myself on this. There's something about this, and I'm just like,
It's not depressing enough for Seamus, is what he's saying.
I don't think it's not that it's not depressing enough, because I don't know. Like I wouldn't say We Are About is a depressing novel. I think it's like a great novel, and like what she did with those like last however many pages where you're just following this person dying. It's not a light read, but I don't know. It's like I guess like yeah. I don't know. I guess to me that isn't necessarily depressing because it's like yeah, just like that's the world we live in. Like we're all just gonna go there. It's just like I think I don't know if depressing the right word, but it's like it's too nice.
Is it like a lack of nuance?
Maybe that's what I was trying to like think of it in terms of is it like the lack of context? Is that what's annoying me? But like that's it. It's so light, and like there's moments like that thing with the AI kind of wanting to die, where it like shows what it could be. Maybe that's what I want it to be, but it's not what it is.
The whole series kind of operates on being vague about a lot of things. Vague about what happened, vague about like the time period we're even in. Like obviously it's the end of the world, but like what has happened between like our present in what 2011 or whenever this started, but between then and now, in the actual story. There's a lot of vagueness and a lot of open-endedness, and I think for me that's fine. I don't mind like an open-ended or a vague ending, but it's all of it except for like that AI, which was very clearly like, nah, it's kind of like the only firm thing that has happened in the whole story is this AI saying like time to die. And I think it's okay for me, but I can understand why it's frustrating too to like bring up all of these heady ideas or have this kind of setting that brings up all of this and to kind of just ignore it or just like let it be background.
I don't know. I think a lot of that, like, it's vague, but like there's also a lot of things that are implied. And because it's implied enough, like that vagueness didn't bother me. It's clear that everyone else died, and it's clear that they died at the end. And so I don't need to see them actually like die.
Also, I feel like if they added, and not that Seamus is advocating for this, but like if they added more traditional like motivations for some of the characters, like if like I forget the characters' names, but the dark haired one was like secretly looking for her dad or something because she like knew her dad was, and that's why she'd make this decision. She wouldn't tell the other one, but she makes her decision to go this way. Like the fact that the book doesn't have that makes me like it a little bit because it just becomes it's a vibes book, right? There's less plot and less like character motivations. The motivation is just them wandering about and hanging out.
And trying to survive, yeah.
And the more you talk about vibes, the more I'm like, I don't think I have any time for this vibe stuff.
well, like I mean, the random example I gave, like that's not what you're really asking for either, right? Like just having like a character with a secret past. I think you feel more about like the plot in general and like the the world they're setting up and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe you disagree.
It's not. I think it's like Morgana said. It's like there's so much vagueness. It's like I'm trying to think. What's the way I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't know. Does this make a whole lot of sense? It's too smooth. There's no bristle to it.
There's no
Okay.
conflict.
Not
no-
even conflict, but like this kind of. I'll say rawness. That's not quite the right word either. I don't know, because I got thinking about like, okay, what's an example of something like this I like? And then I was thinking of like if you're like Beckett stuff, like some of his novels and plays, but they're kind of different again because they're more about characters who are deciding to exist even though they're not really sure why. Also, like I don't know, that's Beckett. Like he's probably like one of the best writers to come out in the last 100 years in terms of like some of his novels and some of his plays. So maybe that's a bit of a. I guess it's an unfair comparison, but I think that's also where I tend to go is like, what's the version that actually is like the person making it was like, okay, we're going farther, we're pushing deeper on this. We're not just doing like a well constructed story with like good art and good pacing. We're gonna like go just push this idea in a direction that is probably not going to be as easy or as comfortable a read if you're like dealing with some of this stuff. I think that's what I'm kind of more looking for.
Yeah, this is definitely not that. But even Tsukumizu admits at the end of Volume 6, they end their afterword by saying, "Thank you so much for reading my clumsy work all the way to this point."
Yeah, that's what I was saying reading the afterwards. I don't think helped me. I think has definitely like maybe be like this person just is not. They're just not good enough for what I'm looking for. If you're like, this is why I feel like if I don't know. Well, I haven't actually read the last volume of Land of the Illustrious, but I think just reading this, I was like, man, I can't wait till we start back to Land of the Illustrious. Land of the Illustrious is so good.
This isn't a challenging text. It
No,
doesn't.
and
I
it's-
yeah.
think that's
it's not
it. That, you
supposed
know
to
what?
be.
That's I think that's it. There's no challenge to it.
And I think that's fine. Which is kind of funny to say when you're talking, like, thematically, it's about these girls are. We're watching the end of these girls' lives. And, they're not even that old. But it's just, there's nothing left for them, to survive on at the end of the story. There's nothing left for them. But at least they can look back on their lives and say they enjoyed living what they did. There's something really like beautiful about that.
Yeah, I could agree. For me, it's kind of like how how the beginning sections of Blam was all like him wandering around. The mega structure is very little dialogue, and then maybe you have a couple of chapters here where characters would intersect and stuff. But then like the back half of Blam has like a lot of dialogue and a lot of like lore and plot and factions, and like there's actually a lot of shit happening by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
This book doesn't ever get to like the end of Blam. It stays in the beginning section where it's just like they're just wandering, and I don't like this as much as I like Blam. But it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like if Blam was much shorter and it ended like before it got to like all the excessive lore stuff. This is kind of how I feel about it.
I will say, like, one aspect I noticed that I was less impressed with while rereading this was actually the Blam comparison of like all the architecture and the spawning like cityscapes. For some, it's Tsukumizu's art style was obviously way looser than like Somonihei, but some of like I like in some of the chapters, some of the perspectives or like how the architecture was drawn, I was like, this is not just like loose, this is actually kind of bad. Like, this does not make sense. It's drawn a little like off, where the perspective is actually broken. And it didn't happen that often, but it happened enough that I noticed it. Mind you, there are still some really impressive shots. Like, what is it? In Volume 3, they run into, like, the fish in the tank and the robot that's taking care of it. I think they pass underneath the builder robot, and there's a 2-page spread of the builder robot, like, spawning about them. Like, I also like the designs of, like, the robots. It was kind of like a unique design of making them, like, very thin, rectangular boxes with long legs and, like, wire feet. Again, doesn't make any good sense or connection or context with, like, the kitten grad. It's so funny how that's so, like, different. But it's I commend their creativity and their, like, design for that kind of stuff. Morgana, were there any kind of individual episodes or, like, adventures that Chito and Yuri went on that you really liked?
Well, I was very jealous of the library
Oh, at the end.
at the end. I was like, that looks fun. It was really sad when all those books got burned too, but I understand. There's the chapter called cigarettes.
They smoked weed.
That was weed.
That was weed.
They
They
was
smoked
weed.
weed.
They also had alcohol, which I picked up immediately. But when the chapter was called cigarettes, and they're like, oh, let's smoke some cigarettes. It's like, oh, okay, they found cigarettes, and then it got weird, and I was like, oh, they got cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Which was very silly. I'm glad. I'm happy for them that they got to have alcohol and pot and coffee and chocolate before they died. All the, like, super important things, I guess.
In life.
I don't like coffee or pot, so here I am. But, I liked any moment they had to, like, chill, because that didn't happen often. But anytime where they're like, let's take a bath, let's do the laundry, it was nice. These are important functions that we have to perform, but for them it was also kind of like rest from constant movement. They still had to do basic human tasks like bathe and do laundry, but it also became fun.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really did like the episode with the fish and the little robot in the facility. I like that little robot. I am somebody who in real life is actually terrified of robots and artificial intelligence, but for some reason in fiction, I would like to adopt every tiny robot I see. So I liked that little guy. Also like the weird penis creature, whatever it was.
Yep.
Cat. I will say, I was hoping the radio would bring them to another person.
No, they don't see
Yeah.
another person after the aviator.
Yeah, which I was like, oh, there's like radio signal. Maybe somebody's out there. They're gonna, and then when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, that's it. We're done. No more people.
Mm-hmm. I really like the when they go to the food processing plant. I said this on the last time we covered this manga, but Yuri starts the conveyor belt machine, and Chito almost gets, like, minched. And just casually like, huh, what's this device do? I was like, maybe I turn it off by doing this? It's very casual, she almost died, but it's a funny moment. And then they get to make their own rations. And they're like, it's so good. I think I'm hungry. I tend to like all the food stuff. What about you, Dart? Do you have, like, favorite moment in this series now that you reread it?
I mean, I do like the part where they get into the mech and they shoot off around the missile that blows up half the town.
Mm.
Like that, then they're like, "Wow, if there's a fight with these things, it just everything will be destroyed, huh?" Um, so I like that beat. I don't know what was this. I think it's like earlier one of the volumes, but wasn't there like a nighttime scene where they turn on all the lights? Like that was kind of cool. My
Is that with a mapper? Or
I think it was before the mapper. Trying to think, I read it earlier in the week, so I don't remember. But like it was mostly like the way it was drawn was mostly like black, but like the environment was just lit up by basically street lamps and stuff like that.
before the mapper, that only sounds like it's either like the first chapter where they're going through the tunnel,
Maybe.
or
Are you
when
thinking,
they're burning
is it like
books.
later on where they like blow up some lighting thing? It's like before they meet that kind of AI takes them up in the lift.
Maybe.
Is it in the temple? Because that was in the dark.
I might be high.
Did you also smoke a cigarette, Dark Fox?
Maybe. I guess that's kind of like a good opportunity for me to kind of criticize the book a little bit and be like, I didn't like really retain much besides like individual scenes and stuff like that.
Even on the second read through.
Yeah, because I forgot all this shit in the first read too. This thing goes through me like Taco Bell.
That's so funny.
Oh, okay. Well, this is sort of related to the penis monsters, but um, I do like the moment where they hook up the digital camera finally.
Yes, yeah.
That was a nice little bit of like kind of sweet somber. All these people are dead.
Seeing the records of like people in the past, along with the mapper and his partner, who was no longer with him by the time we met the mapper. Yeah. I still like that gag with the mapper where they're going up the lift and Cheeto's like, "Oh, this is so scary. Why didn't they put like any like kind of barricade here?" And the mapper's like, "It's probably a waste of like materials." And then it, the lift of course tilts. The mapper's maps get scattered into the wind. And he's like, he's lamenting, "Why didn't they put any fences there?" And Yuri just says like the same line back to him. Probably didn't want to waste materials. That's a gag that whenever that happens in a manga or any kind of fiction, when something that is said is turned back on the person who said it, I always laugh. The very famous one is from Yu Yu Hakusho during the beginning of Chapter Black, where Hiei is like, "I can't believe Yusuke got like kidnapped. What an idiot. He got what he deserved." And then, Hiei does battle against the, I forget the name of the character, but remember they're doing the alphabet game or whatever, and he immediately gets taken out. And Kurobaro says the same thing about, like, Hiei. He's like, "What an idiot. He got what he deserved." I always love that. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other parts of, Girls Last Tour to bring up, but I brought up my main one, which is like I think the ending is really great. Though I guess based on our discussion, maybe like maybe it's not as great if you think about how like the context doesn't like necessarily match or lead up to it. I don't know. I still think it's the best part of this manga is the ending. Oh, Morgana. So the last time we talked about this is like the point where we mentioned that flashbacks are bad, because you know how there's one flashback chapter in this series about like when they were kids. Seamus was very much like, why did we have that? Why did we need that? What is the point? You still felt the same way, Seamus?
Because I went back and listened to our podcast, so I was like, "Oh, is there like a really long flashback thing?" I was like, "This is like one chapter." I was like, "I don't know." Although I think I did say at the time I was in the midst of a like just a general anti-flashback. I don't know, insurgents.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just like, "Yeah, one chapter is not too bad."
Oh, interesting.
The thing
It's not,
about
it's not good. Like I still don't think it's needed there. But
yeah,
compared to some of the stuff we read, like what was oh, the woman with the face thing where she's pretending to be
oh
the other woman.
Kasane.
Yes, that was
yeah,
like woeful altogether. That was like
that
at
was
least
bad.
was that more than a volume of like flashback?
Yeah, it was. It kept
Oh yeah, and it
happening.
was weird retconning that we were all like, what?
The thing about the flashback in this series that I think is a little odd. I mean, it's Cheeto's dream, I think, or you know, they're dreaming about it, but like, it feels like it's giving us the promise of context, but I still don't know what the fuck is going on. I still don't have context.
Nope.
Yeah, this is such a anti-context work of fiction in a way. It's not really all that interesting. For some reason, I feel like you could do this, but it'd be. Oh, that's why I was thinking of Beckett as well. Yeah, because yeah, some of his stuff is very much like that. Where you're like, what the fuck's going on here? We're just like in this one person's head, in a place that there's no real descriptors for, but it's very good. This is like, well, there's no context, but it's not all that interesting. Yeah. And then I'm like, I did like it. The more we're talking about it, the more I'm like, what was it? Is it this vibes thing you're on about?
Yeah, it
I
just
think
gave you a feeling.
maybe I think that's kind of part of the problem I have with that vibes idea. It collapses as soon as you start thinking about it. And to my mind, best works of art, best works of fiction is the more you think about it, the more you're like, oh, okay, this is actually like there's even more than I thought. Or like this is just going in the opposite direction where I'm like, oh, there's actually even less here than I thought.
I mean, I think there's room for both kinds of art, right? Something that just makes you feel something with no actual thought involved, and then something that makes you feel something the more you think about it.
I feel like
Um,
most music is vibes. So, yeah, I'm okay with vibes. Dari, you want to weigh in on vibes? Is Manga Mac going anti-vibes
What's the
in
question?
year 11?
What is vibes or? Sorry.
I think I was more saying that the more I think about this vibe stuff after you talked about that other manga and like using it to describe this, I'm like, is vibe just a way to describe something where really like it's all about what it makes you feel? But it's like the second you start
Can
thinking, you're like, yeah, but there's nothing there. Whereas like I can think of plenty of stuff that can do both. Like I just rewatched Speaking of Reviews there this morning, and like that is like I think one of the best things I've ever seen. And like there's a lot of stuff in there that like even after I watch it, I'm like thinking through how they and a lot of that is like so based on context. A particular part of time in a particular time and a particular approach to it.
I think part of that is just how it makes you feel. I think like the original kind of like use for vibes, and at least in the context that I'm used to hearing it, is like when people will describe something like a David Lynch film or a film that's a little more like avant-garde or something, where there's like substance to it, but it's not traditional like plot and character and story structure substance. So people kind of default to calling it. Oh, it has like a
it's
lot of vibes.
it's je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
It's got something.
So yeah, I think vibes could be uh, used as just like a shorthand as for like emotions or something, but like um yeah, je ne sais quoi, like a way to attempt to describe, hopefully, and not just say vibes, but attempt to describe like a story that doesn't have like a lot of the traditional trappings of like a straightforward plot structure and character moments.
I mean, I feel like I've read enough manga, and most commercial manga are those straightforward plots and motivations and everything, and it gets explained. It's nice to just do one that is more like vibes or mood and isn't that deep. So yeah, I guess that's the difference between me and Seamus is that I look at this and I acknowledge that like Seamus said, the context is not great or really thought out here. But I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me, and I kind of like that about Girls Last Tour.
Is it cozy?
Oh, yes.
Well, see, in my mind, that's a bad thing.
In a weird way, it's cozy.
Yeah, this one is cozy in spite of it being like a post-apocalypse.
Yep.
Did you guys know that cozy horror is a thing now in
Yeah.
books?
How does that?
I don't know.
Okay, that I'm very confused about.
I don't know. I haven't read any of it. I'm a person who likes murder mysteries, and I have a conflict about what is a cozy mystery because I don't really like a thriller or like a really intense crime novel or like true crime. But I also don't want something that's so insipid, you know what I mean? But I think some of the things I read could be considered cozy, but I like push back against that because I don't think they're that, there's like, I mean, there's murder happening, and usually it's like, I don't know, it's not without gore or like bad things, like bad things happen. It's not just like, oh, somebody was murdered and now we have to solve the crime. It's like somebody was murdered and also somebody else was murdered. And then the person who's a suspect is like going through something, it's like, it's not, I don't know. I have conflicted feelings about cozy as a descriptor because if somebody tells me like, here's a cozy murder mystery, I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm good. But then I read things that I'm like, I think this might be considered a cozy, but I don't feel like it's cozy.
I feel like, and I'm not deep into that genre at all, but I feel like I hear cozy murder mystery, and I just think of like the televised, like either Murder She Wrote or Columbo, where
Yeah, Murder She Wrote, I would say, is more cozy, and I do like that. To be fair,
the detective can casually drive to a location where the killer is and be like, "You're the killer," and they're like, "No, like yes, you are because of this," and then like, "Oops, I guess I'm going to jail now." Whereas it's not like they're being chased through alleyways all the time and have to dodge like syringes full of diseases and whatever. Like grimy murder, like Seven. Just like
So you guys are basically describing Murder She Wrote.
yeah, but also like, okay, think about Agatha Christie. Some people describe her stuff as cozy, and I would push back against that because I think cozy is sometimes used um to infantilize a work, and I don't think that's fair of Christie, for example, who was very prolific and did a lot of important things in the genre. You know what I mean?
I haven't read Agatha Christie, but my understanding is that like she like genre bends. She like her stories are like really different from one story to another.
Yes, and there's some pretty cool like payoffs in a lot of her stuff. I have not read a lot of I think I've technically only read one of her books, but I have watched movie adaptations of her stuff. If you haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express, I recommend you see the one from the 70s. It's very, very good.
The new one looks weird.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one yet. But the old one is excellent. Like just a well-made film, and it was my first introduction to Agatha Christie, and I was pretty young, and it kind of blew my mind. So
I think cozy, like any kind of like descriptor that gets overused and ends up just becoming multiple definitions depending on who's saying it at the moment. Just the unfortunate thing with like either critique and reviews, and even just enthusiasts talking about something they like. We sometimes use things as a crutch, like back in I forget, like the time, like the early 2010s. Um, a lot of gamers and game reviewers were using the word compelling all the time. It just became like a meme where like the game is very compelling. It's like, there's more vocabulary out there, you know.
I've got a book here. I haven't started reading it. It's called like Interesting, Zany, and Cute, and it's basically like looking at how and why we use those words.
Ah,
Very interested in reading. So I'm trying to like actually get the context of where I think about cozy. Ah, yes. So there's this review from this guy called Adam Roberts. He's a science fiction writer, but he wrote this review in 2008. Because he's a line, coziness is a good quality in sweaters and not a merit in books. But he actually does say like what he's thinking about. It's a smooth reading experience that passes the time. It's fairly entertaining, has a few moments of excitement. It's a cozy book, flatters the reader, winks at her, promising the real thing rather than some sanitized storybook version. At the same time, sanitizing anything that might genuinely unsettle or unnerve or wrongfoot her reader's expectations. It's like many works of contemporary fantasy, panders to a sort of imaginative tourism, a safe entry into an escapative, imaginative space, despite defined by its reassuring familiarity. I don't think that bit really applies.
I mean, I get what he's saying, but I also think like that's not a bad thing. It's okay to read something cozy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to enjoy something just to enjoy it. I also think it's important to read things that are challenging, but I think you can have both.
Pretty sure actually later in the review he says why he doesn't like escapism.
So is then Girls Last Tour a cozy book?
Cozy
That's what I
apocalypse.
was thinking. That's what I was thinking about with this review in his review of. Funny enough, he was talking about a fantasy novel, but that like it's not cozy apocalypse. It's just that like what's it hints at something interesting, but at the same time it's all very like safe and reassuring.
A cozy look at finality, the end of things. Some mono no aware, thinking about like when they talk about music or they go to the art museum. I don't thematically it's I mean it's in the title too, Girls Last Tour, but everything they come across is like ending. It's like the AI kills itself. The penis monsters tell them they're the only ones alive, and eventually, like once they clear all the data in the city, they're just gonna shut down and stop moving. Everything's gonna like stop. It'll be the end of everything. Those are some like sometimes terrifying things to think about. Sometimes very upsetting things to most people. But yeah, I like the way Girls Last Tour handles that material. Even if it's making it cozy, easy to like swallow. Because sometimes that's people need that. I'm kind of surprised I did not have my usual like anxiety about death and dying while rereading this. Maybe because I knew, and we already had that talk. Funny thing, Dar, last time we did our retrospective on this, we talked about I think we were talking about Taoism and Buddhism and how Buddhism, like, when you get the good ending, it's nothingness. Like, you don't even get reincarnated. It's just nothing.
Right.
And, like, I was listening to us talk about that, and I was like, oh, here comes some of my anxiety. And right there on the podcast, I was like, Dar, you're giving me anxiety. So it happened
I'm
again.
sorry.
I was gonna
No,
say,
it's fine.
given you've read all of Landed Illustrious, because at least where I'm ready to like, that's where it's going. Or,
Yeah,
for a lot
yeah.
of people in that book.
I know, and we're gonna have to talk about that when we finally start that retrospective. So
I don't think anything's gonna be as bad as the Phoenix, as far as your
yeah,
heebie-jeebies
it
with
was
that.
also the time in my life too. Yeah, I was dealing with a lot of like anxiety over that.
Yeah. Also, hi, Bunny Cartoon. Thank you.
Hey! Thanks for the anniversary. Oh, Tyler stopped by too. I totally missed that. But yeah, I guess is there anything else to say about Tsukumizu's Girls Last Tour? I feel like we talked a lot.
We did.
You have anything else you want to mention, Morgana?
I don't think so.
Did you have like your final thoughts on this series that you finally got to read?
I enjoyed it overall, and I'm okay if it's cozy. I'm okay if it's unchallenging. It's a weird book to be unchallenging considering the subject matter. But that weird is not a criticism, that's kind of it's a curiosity. It's an interesting little series, and I'm glad I read it.
Great. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. What about you, Dar?
I think it's neat. I enjoy seeing these girls last tour.
And for you, Seamus, it sounds like you think less of this now.
Yes. Well, I don't actually remember what I thought of it the last time I read it. Just listening to myself talking about it on the podcast, which doesn't really help.
You were high on it. You said like it was like a front runner for your manga of the year that year.
I think yeah, but then what happened was, which just happens to a lot of stuff, is I rewatch it, and because I've already read it before, there's a whole lot of stuff I think about that I don't think about the first time. That's when that to me, I this idea. It's far too late into this podcast. It's also kind of unworkable that we'd read something, and then we'd decide, do we want to cover it in the podcast? We've said yes, we'd read it again in 6 months, and if we still said yes, we'd read it again like a month later. So by the time we talked to anyone on the podcast, we'd had to read it at least 3 times. I'd be willing to read it at least 3 times. I'd be like, there was so much stuff, probably not even like get to that third read. It's kind of like why I like this Redux stuff, because it gets me to like go back and actually reread stuff and like think through it again, having without like because like there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm like familiar with and I know and I don't have to like think about. So it's easier to like think about other stuff. I think for a lot of stuff, I don't think a lot of stuff can like hold up to that either. Oh yeah, first time that's interesting enough. Second time you're like, yeah, there's not really a whole lot here now that like I'm more familiar with it.
I think it's so interesting that happens often with you, but it doesn't really happen that often to me. I reread stuff and but there's more to think about now. But in general, I still really like it. You know, it doesn't really change my opinion too much. Does that happen to you, Dar?
There's definitely stuff I've reread that I like even more, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that like maybe a lot of stuff is too broad a term, but like there's definitely stuff that I read it and I'm like, I'm never going to read this again, or stuff that I'm like, even like this one, I was kind of like, yeah, I've been interested in rereading this, and I read it and I'm like, I don't think I'll ever read this again. I don't think there's like all that interesting. It's like worth having reading it over again. Like compared to I don't know other stuff that like I said, like I watched Peking Awkward reviews there. Like I watched it like 6 months ago, and I watched it 6 months before. And every time I watched it, I'm like, this movie gets better and better. And I'm gonna like see Shanghai Blues Wednesday for the 3rd time in like 12 months. I also think like that's like that movie I watched like 2 weeks ago again. And I was like, man, there was so much more to this movie that I like totally missed the first time. And I know if I go see it again like Wednesday, there's going to be even more stuff. I'm going to come away probably thinking like this is even better again. I guess maybe that's what I'm looking for in a lot of like fiction and art and stuff. Is that like the more time you spend in it, the more you get from it. Opposed to just constantly cycling through new stuff and not really thinking too much about it.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with most manga is like manga by definition is kind of easy breezy and disposable. There's really not too many manga that are deep because it's such a commercial product most of the time. Yeah, Dar, how do you feel about rereading stuff or like rewatching things?
I generally have the same opinions when I rewatch or read stuff. Um, unless like I mean sometimes I don't, but like certain things fall into like a category of like they're made men, and like every single time I watch it, I just love it more and more. There's that episode of Deep Space Nine that's like Far Beyond the Stars. Like I could just watch that episode so many times, and I just love it more than like more times I watch it. Um, I'm like that with Trigun as well, and I think somewhere around my like third or fourth rewatch, I get like um I start seeing like more flaws, but like it doesn't make me dislike it, you know.
Is that the same for you, Morgana?
I don't reread a whole lot. I rewatch things more frequently, but even that, not a whole lot. And I think if I'm going to experience something, I have to have really enjoyed it in the first place.
Right.
And for the most part, I feel like I've watched something a second, third, fourth time, read something a second time, and I have enjoyed it again. I don't know, and yes, I see more. Maybe sometimes I notice other issues, but I think what I usually get on a second exploration of something is, since I know what's happening, I can pay attention to other stuff, so I get more out of it as opposed to, finding things wrong with it, I guess. I mostly think about movies because I really don't reread a whole lot. I mean, I reread some manga every now and then. I have a couple books that I've read more than once, but I'm not a huge rereader. I gotta read more. There's too many things on my list. I can't just keep going back to the same old thing.
I, you know, I guess like when we did our retrospective redux on A Silent Voice, I think we all had more of a, well, there are actually more problems and maybe this isn't as good as a general reaction to that series. Maybe I need to look at something that I genuinely disliked and maybe I will like it more. Should I reread 20th Century Boys? Something that like I famously really hated when I
Everything is
finished.
fine. Everything is good. Like a
I was like, I like a vague. I was thinking, I was like, when I reread that one, that was the first one of his I read, and I kind of forgotten most about it. But I also kind of want to reread it because I have a feeling I would probably dislike it because now I know a lot more stuff about cults in Japan. So I will have a lot more context to be like, oh, is he just doing Pluto again with Yurak War?
Hmm.
Or maybe he's not. Maybe in that case, he's actually thought it through more given he's Japanese. Then I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of volumes.
Yeah, it is, but
I haven't ever finished it.
I think I could do it. The question is, do I want to do it? I don't know.
Do you
I
want
guess,
to
like, do you
waste
think
your?
there's something there that it's worth it? Like, there's stuff that I maybe started and stopped before or didn't like, and then usually I'll have like read something someone wrote about it. It kind of gave me a different perspective. That I'll be like, okay, thinking about it that way, I kind of want to go back and give it another go. But I think like I don't know. Do you have that like? Is there like? Do you have a particular thing you know you'd go with it this time round to be like? Oh, if I think about it this way, there might be something there for you, as opposed to just thinking you should just do it with a vague notion of looking for something that mightn't even be there.
That's a good point. To answer your question, Morgan, or like, do I want to waste my time doing that? I like manga, so I will. Like Darfox joked, I famously reread Yomish Pedal all the time. So the key is you just skim real fast over the parts that are uninteresting, and just focus on the good parts. Because it's like it's anything that runs like so long. There are going to be parts that are just not as interesting. I don't know. It's just weird. Like I could reread One Piece, and I have, but I usually stop at a point where, my actual interest had like tapered off. I feel like I would do that again, and I just wonder, like, if I actually went back and sat down and reread everything instead of like trying to read it week to week to week, would it actually be better? Would it actually speak better? And my guess is no. I just don't think so. I don't know. I'll give this more thought, so we'll see. But I'm rambling at this point.
What if we start 20th Century Boys? We started thinking, we'll pull the plug on this if we have to.
We can add it to the list of all the things that we need to get to on this podcast. We're pretty stacked right now, but yeah, I'll put it in our thoughts. But yeah, let's wrap up. We've been podcasting for a long time. We started a little late anyway. Happy 11 years, Darfox.
Happy 11 years. Happy SC +1 years.
You could tell we've been going for a long time because Dar is just like
My normally incredible wit has been reduced to rambling.
we're all tired now. Morgana, happy 11 years.
Thanks. Happy 11 years.
Yep. Happy 11 years, Seamus. You did it.
We did it. 11 years of this thing.
Is this the longest that you've done?
You put up with us.
Committed to anything? In like, I think this. Yeah, honestly, I think even for myself, this is the longest I've committed to.
I was
anything.
just about that. I was just like, realistically, 11 years is like, yes. I can't think of something else I've done for 11 years besides living.
Yeah,
Being friends with people I've known a long time.
this podcast is as old as my marriage.
Oh,
Like a month longer than my marriage.
Oh snap!
Yeah. I think that's the only other
wild
thing I've
stuff.
done this long.
Wild stuff. But yeah, we completed 11 years. Thank you if you have stuck around since the beginning, or if you just even started recently listening to us, watching us. And thanks again, Darfox, for doing the live stream again.
You're welcome. Thank you for putting up with technical difficulties, and stay tuned. Maybe more cool stuff in the future.
Yeah, that's right. Always give vague promises in case they don't happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody, let us wrap up this episode. Thanks again to Darfox, Morgana, and Seamus for joining me. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing, reviewing, rating us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you can find us. Reminder that next week we will be off, but when we come back in 2 weeks, we'll be starting our Osamu Tezuka's Buddha retrospective. Stay tuned for that. Check out our website, mangamachinations.com. Our Tumblr is mangamachinations.tumblr.com. Thank you again to the people who showed up for the live stream. Shirley Bossycat, Cliff, Raging Aztec, CN Nolan, Tyler, and Bunny Cartoon. We appreciate you joining us. If you want to financially support us, buy us a coffee. Head over to ko-fi.com/mangamac. Come join our Discord server to come talk to us. Just head over to discord.me/mangamac. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/mangamactv, where we are live streaming now, again, our episode recordings. We also have Mangamac Watches and Nakayoshi Gaming. You can send emails over to mangamachinations@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at Mangamac Podcast. That's Manga MAC Podcast. We're mostly on Blue Sky, but we do have Instagram, Twitter, everything else. Or you can follow our personal social media. Follow me at Dakazu. Follow Darfox at Darfox8. Follow Morgana at Morgana Relina. And follow Seamus at Seamus2389. Remember, Seamus is spelled without an H. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening to us this week. Happy 11 years. Bye-bye.